Thursday, the 9th of July, 2026. Martin has made an unexpected return to the canvas, and while it might look like a simple family reunion by the pool, it seems like there is a much darker agenda at play. Laura is desperate, and we all saw her ask him for a favor, but high chances are that this is not just some innocent sibling request. My sources suggest that Laura is about to hand Martin a highly classified, off-the-books mission directly tied to the ongoing investigation that has been tearing this town apart. We know Laura has been pursuing dangerous leads regarding Jens, but what if she has hit a wall that only a morally flexible attorney like Martin can break through? The truth might be way more complicated than a mayor asking her brother for legal advice. This feels like a covert operation, and Martin is the perfect pawn to do the dirty work that Laura cannot risk being caught doing herself. But what if Martin refuses to play along with this dangerous scheme? What if the stakes are simply too high, even for his flexible moral compass? We have to consider the very real possibility that Martin will push back, and knowing his history, he will not do it gently. There is a behind-the-scenes whisper suggesting that if Laura will not take no for an answer, Martin might resort to outright threats. Could he aggressively criticize her leadership, or worse, threaten to expose her darkest compromises if she drags him into this lethal mess? The dynamic between these siblings has always been a delicate dance of trust and manipulation, and this unconfirmed leak implies that their relationship is about to fracture in a spectacular fashion. If Martin turns against Laura, she will be left entirely isolated in a dangerous game where one wrong move could cost her absolutely everything she has built. Speaking of legal sharks circling the bloody waters, we desperately need to dissect what is happening with Rick. He has just taken on a new client, agreeing to represent Isaiah in a civil lawsuit against Curtis for the brutal assault that severely damaged Isaiah and his surgical career. On the surface, this looks like a standard, albeit highly vindictive legal maneuver. Rick loves a high-profile case, especially one that allows him to twist the knife into his old rivals while smiling for the cameras. However, it seems like the civil suit is merely a smokescreen for a much more sinister objective. Rick is a master of the long game, and high chances are that he is using this lawsuit as a Trojan horse to dig into Curtis and his recent, highly questionable activities. The truth might be way more complicated than a simple demand for financial compensation for a hand injury. What if, during the aggressive discovery phase of this lawsuit, Rick stumbles upon glaring inconsistencies in hidden evidence? I am hearing a hush-hush rumor that Rick is going to uncover a trail of digital breadcrumbs that not only implicates Curtis in far worse crimes, but also drags several other prominent figures into a massive legal nightmare. Imagine Rick holding the keys to a scandal that could send Curtis to a federal penitentiary for a very long time, while simultaneously destroying the reputations of everyone desperately trying to protect him. Rick would absolutely revel in that kind of untouchable power, holding the entire town hostage, with the constant threat of public exposure. Meanwhile, the romantic front is proving to be just as deadly and unpredictable as the legal one. Sonny is absolutely furious about the passionate reunion between Carly and Valentine. We all watched that intense kiss in the hospital parking lot, and Sonny did not hold back his harsh disapproval. He has warned Carly that reuniting with Valentine is a terrible mistake, pointing to Valentine and his dark history of tampering with medications and manipulating vulnerable people. But, ladies, it seems like Sonny is not just acting out of jealous spite or lingering mob resentment. High chances are that Sonny knows something we do not. The unconfirmed leak points to Sonny holding onto a terrifying piece of intelligence regarding Valentine and his recent, highly secretive dealings with the intelligence agency. The truth might be way more complicated than Valentine simply being a reformed bad boy seeking redemption in the arms of the woman he loves. What if Valentine is harboring a deeply dangerous secret that could drag Carly right back into the lethal crosshairs of his former employers? Sonny has eyes and ears everywhere, and this behind-the-scenes whisper suggests he has uncovered a new active conspiracy that Valentine is secretly orchestrating right under everyone's noses. If Valentine is playing a double game, pretending to be free while actually executing a covert operation for the agency, Carly is walking straight into a death trap. Sonny knows that Valentine is a man who will always prioritize his own survival and his daughter over everything else, making Carly nothing more than collateral damage in his grand design. Yet, in true Carly fashion, she absolutely refuses to listen to reason or heed the warnings. She has firmly told Sonny that she will not change her mind, stubbornly standing by Valentine despite the blaring red flags surrounding his sudden release. What if this blind loyalty is exactly what Valentine is counting on to execute his master plan? It seems like Carly is so desperate to hold on to this romance that she is willfully ignoring the imminent danger. High chances are that her fierce defiance will isolate her from the very people who can actually protect her when the bullets start flying. When the truth about Valentine and his hidden agenda inevitably explodes, Carly will have nowhere to turn, entirely alienated from Sunny and left to face the wrath of international spies completely alone. This drastic storyline shift is setting Carly up for a devastating and heartbreaking fall. Now, let us pivot to a medical mystery that is keeping me up at night and sending chills down my spine. Lucas is currently spiraling out of control, waking up confused on a couch, and venting his deepest frustrations to Elizabeth. He is deeply haunted by the shocking revelation that Britt never actually had the terminal disease she thought she did. We know Lucas discovered the saline solution in her syringe, proving she was not dying, but the psychological toll of this discovery on him is immense. It seems like Lucas is becoming dangerously obsessed with unraveling how this massive, cruel lie was perpetrated for so long. He is a brilliant doctor. He knows that faking a terminal genetic illness requires far more than just swapping out a few vials of medication in a dark room. During his intense and emotional conversation with Elizabeth, high chances are that Lucas will have a terrifying epiphany that changes the entire trajectory of his life. What if he realizes that the entire medical history, the official lab results, and the documented diagnoses for Britt were meticulously and maliciously forged? The truth might be way more complicated than a simple misunderstanding or a brief moment of deception by a rogue agent. Falsifying hospital records on that massive scale requires high-level administrative access, specialized medical knowledge, and a completely ruthless mastermind pulling the strings. This unconfirmed leak suggests that Lucas and Elizabeth will start connecting the dots, realizing that the person who orchestrated this medical nightmare is still out there, hiding in the shadows of the hospital corridors. If Britt was systematically manipulated into believing she was dying a slow, painful death, who was pulling the strings and why? What if the mastermind is someone completely unexpected, someone who has been controlling the narrative from behind a pristine desk this entire time? There's a chilling behind-the-scenes whisper that the forgery of the medical records is tied to a much larger, insidious plot to control the hospital itself and everyone inside it. Lucas is about to go down a dark rabbit hole that could put his own life in grave, immediate danger. If he gets too close to uncovering the true identity of the person who tortured Britt with a fake death sentence, he might easily become their next target. The hospital is no longer a place of healing, it is a hunting ground, and Lucas is walking right into the spider's web. As if the medical and criminal drama were not enough to make our heads spin, we have a massive career crisis unfolding for Molly that could destroy her life. She has just been handed the opportunity of a lifetime by Justine. Justine has offered her a monumental legal case, an absolute career maker that could elevate Molly to the top tier of the legal world overnight. But there is a massive, life-altering catch. Molly is also preparing for her highly anticipated book launch, a passion project she has poured her soul into. It seems like Molly is being forced to make an impossible, soul-crushing choice. Does she chase the ruthless prestige of the courtroom, or does she embrace her vulnerability as an author? High chances are that Justine is not just offering this case out of the goodness of her heart, she is testing Molly's absolute loyalty and willingness to destroy others. The truth might be way more complicated than a simple scheduling conflict between a trial and a book signing. What if this massive case that Justine is offering is directly tied to the very people Molly loves and protects? What if taking this career-making case means Molly has to aggressively prosecute her own family or closest friends? This unconfirmed leak points to a drastic storyline shift where Molly must decide if she is willing to sell her soul for professional success. If she chooses the case, she might have to destroy her book, her reputation, and her personal relationships to win. If she chooses the book, Justine might blacklist her from the legal community forever. Molly is standing at a terrifying crossroads, and her final decision will permanently alter her destiny in this town. When you step back and look at the entire board, the picture is absolutely horrifying and brilliantly chaotic. We have Laura potentially launching a covert, illegal operation with Martin, Rick digging up buried crimes to completely destroy Curtis, Valentine dragging a stubborn Carly into a lethal international conspiracy, Lucas hunting a phantom medical mastermind, and Molly deciding whether to become a ruthless legal shark or lose everything. It seems like all of these seemingly isolated events are actually converging into one massive, town-wide explosion that will leave no one unscathed. High chances are that the puppet master pulling the strings behind the forged medical records is the exact same person funding the spy conspiracy and manipulating the legal system from the shadows. The interconnectedness of this upcoming Thursday episode is simply staggering. I cannot stress enough how dangerous this situation is becoming for our favorite characters as these plots collide. Every single behind the scenes whisper I hear points to a complete and utter dismantling of the status quo we have known for years. The writers are not just shaking things up, they are burning the old alliances to the ground and salting the earth. What if the people we thought were heroes are actually the villains of this dark new chapter? What if the secrets Rick uncovers about Curtis directly implicate Laura and Martin in a massive cover-up? What if the lethal threat Valentine is hiding is the very thing that Justine wants Molly to prosecute in court? The truth might be way more complicated than any of us can possibly imagine, and the fallout will leave permanent, bleeding scars on this town. You need to brace yourselves, ladies, because the town we know and love is about to be wiped off the map. The loyalties are fake, the medical records are forged, and the romantic reunions are nothing more than deadly traps waiting to spring shut. Do not trust a single smile, do not believe a single promise, and absolutely do not think for 1 second that anyone is safe from the impending slaughter. If you think the worst is over, you are completely blind to the monsters standing right behind them.